We live in the most unusual time in human history.
And this is something that people might say often, but I think it's actually true this time. And the reason it's true this time is because of AI.
And because of the groundbreaking work of Ilya Sutskever.
And I'm Ilya,
the scientist who helped create ChatGPT and later tried to remove its CEO, Sam Altman, had actually become famous a decade before. In 2012, Ilya co-authored what might be the most famous paper in the entire history of AI. It's not an exaggeration to call it one of the most influential papers of the 21st century. Ilya, along with fellow grad student Alex Krzyzewski and their legendary University of Toronto professor Geoffrey Hinton, built a giant artificial brain, a neural network called AlexNet. They trained it on over 1 million images, teaching it to recognize and classify objects into 1,000 different categories. Then, at the ImageNet competition, the Olympics of image recognition, they crushed the field. AlexNet slashed the image recognition error rate down to 15%, while the second best team could only manage 26%. Professor Hinton called it a big bang moment for AI, as revolutionary as the Wright brothers' first flight or the invention of the light bulb, maybe even more so. For the first time, a computer could look at photos of the real world and recognize objects with almost human-like accuracy. That single breakthrough opened the floodgates to everything we see today. Self-driving cars that spot pedestrians and other vehicles, medical imaging systems that can detect cancer, and AI helping unlock what astronomers missed for decades. So how did a couple of grad students and their professor pull it off? To understand how, we have to go back to the beginning. Ilya was born in central Russia and grew up in Jerusalem. The first time he saw a computer at the age of 5 at an expo with his father, an engineer, he recalled, "I was utterly enchanted." By the time his family emigrated to Canada when he was 16, he was already a strong programmer. He was so talented that the University of Toronto admitted him to its math program straight from grade 11. He immediately started taking upper year courses at U of T and continued with a master's and PhD in computer science, where he met Professor Geoffrey Hinton.
The fact that Geoff Hinton was in this university was one of my life's great strokes of luck.
Professor Hinton had been fighting a battle for decades. While the AI community had largely given up on deep neural nets, Hinton never stopped believing in them. He was convinced that if machines could mimic the brain's neural networks and were given vast amounts of data, they could discover patterns, understand the world, and even propose solutions. His most ardent supporter in the lab was Ilya.
He was very smart, and from the very beginning it was clear that he had very good intuitions and a lot of ideas.
More of my interview with Geoff Hinton in the next video. Hinton could tell Ilya was brilliant. What took most researchers weeks to code, he could finish in an afternoon. Ilya fully embraced the vision of neural nets. He once said, "If you allow yourself to believe that an artificial neuron is kind of like a biological neuron, then they should do everything we can do. And if you allow yourself to believe that they can be accelerated, well, then you're training brains." It was Ilya who convinced his lab mate Alex Krzyzewski and Professor Hinton to go all in on building a massive deep neural network and training it on the enormous ImageNet dataset. Hinton summed it up this way: "Ilya thought we should do it, Alex made it work, and I got the Nobel Prize." The crazy part is they didn't have access to a supercomputer. AlexNet was trained in Alex's bedroom at his parents' house in Toronto on 2 high-end NVIDIA GeForce GTX 580 gaming GPUs. They ran 24/7 for nearly a week. The cooling fans were so loud that they kept Alex up at night. The neural net was named AlexNet in honor of the quiet engineer who did the heavy lifting to make the thing actually run. Their groundbreaking work caught the attention of Google, which recruited Ilya as an AI research scientist. At Google, Ilya helped lead one of the most important advances in machine translation. Before 2014, Google Translate was pretty bad. For example, take this French phrase, "Il fait un temps de chien." The old system would translate that as, "it makes a time of dog," when in fact it means the weather is awful. The problem is that the system broke up the sentence into chunks, looked up the most statistically likely word-for-word equivalents, and stitched them back together. The results were translations that were unnatural. Ilya and his colleagues completely changed translation. They pioneered sequence-to-sequence learning, a powerful new AI architecture. They proved that a neural network could read an entire sentence in one language and generate a fluent sentence in another instead of translating word by word. This dramatically improved the quality of machine translation and became the foundation for all modern translation systems. After 2 years at Google, Sam Altman invited him to a dinner at a fancy hotel in Palo Alto. Altman was the then head of the startup accelerator Y Combinator. Elon Musk was also at that dinner. The conversation led to the creation of OpenAI, a new nonprofit whose stated purpose was to build AI to benefit all of humanity. 2 days after the dinner, Ilya emailed Sam to say he was in, even though it meant walking away from the $6 million salary Google had offered him to stay. That decision to join OpenAI changed AI forever. As OpenAI's chief scientist, Ilya became the force behind the development of the Generative Pre-trained Transformer, or GPT. These models are trained on vast amounts of text, allowing them to generate remarkably human-like responses to almost any prompt. What made the Transformer revolutionary was how it understood language. Take the sentence, "She didn't go to the party because she was too anxious." Older systems struggled to understand who she referred to or why she stayed home. The Transformer reads the whole sentence at once, recognizing that her anxiety is the reason she didn't go to the party. For the first time, a language model could reliably understand context, relationships, and cause and effect. That breakthrough directly led to ChatGPT and the generative AI explosion we're living through. Ilya never stopped believing in the organization's original mission of benefiting humanity.
The future is going to be good for the AIs regardless. It would be nice if it were good for humans as well.
But as OpenAI grew more powerful, Ilya grew concerned that it was prioritizing growth and profit over the promise of building AI safely for humanity's benefit. He was so concerned, he authored a 52-page memo making the case that Altman had to go. Quote, "Sam exhibits a consistent pattern of lying, undermining his execs, and pitting his execs against one another." He sent the memo to OpenAI's independent directors and used a self-destructing email service that would erase itself after being read. The board fired Altman, but that immediately backfired. Hundreds of employees revolted, and Microsoft, OpenAI's biggest investor, threw its support behind Altman. Within days, he was reinstated as the CEO of OpenAI. Ilya, who led the coup, ultimately changed his mind, calling for Altman's return. He later explained, "I felt that had I not done this, the company would be destroyed." In the end, the board members who fired Altman were themselves replaced, including Ilya, who eventually left the company. The drama exposed the tension between OpenAI's original nonprofit mission and its aggressive commercial growth. It's the reason Elon Musk, one of OpenAI's original co-founders, sued OpenAI in 2024, arguing that Altman and OpenAI's president Greg Brockman broke their founding promise to keep the company a nonprofit. But a California jury ruled unanimously against Musk in May 2026, finding he had waited too long to sue. Musk has said he will appeal. As for Ilya, after leaving OpenAI, he co-founded Safe Superintelligence Inc., a company dedicated to building superintelligence, AI that greatly surpasses human intelligence, as safely as possible. He remains genuinely awed by what's coming. He once described it this way: "Imagine having a doctor who refers to every single study in medicine." But that's just the beginning of what Ilya believes AI will become, because for him, AI will change everything.
And the day will come when AI will do all the things that we can do. Not just some of them, but all of them. Anything which I can learn, anything which any one of you can learn, the AI could do as well.
No area of human life will be left untouched by AI. Ever since ChatGPT kicked off the AI revolution, we've had an explosion of AI models. But juggling different models means paying for multiple subscriptions. What if you could access them all for just $10 a month? That's why I personally use ChatLLM by Abacus AI. It brings together leading models like Claude, GPT, Gemini, Grok, and DeepSeek in one place. I use Claude Fable 5 through ChatLLM by Abacus AI to review my script for factual errors, inconsistencies, and awkward wording, and it caught several issues in seconds. An interesting feature is RouteLLM, which automatically selects the best model for whatever you're trying to do. And if you want to create stunning visuals, I use NanoBanana 2 to generate this video of a neural network learning from a simple prompt. What impressed me most is that you can build apps and websites without learning how to code. You can just chat with AI and watch it bring your idea to life. There is no coding required. And all of this costs just $10 a month, which is way less than subscribing to these models individually. If you'd like to try it out, visit chatllm.abacus.ai. That's chatllm.abacus.ai, or click the link in my description. Thanks for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.